Science, technology, engineering, and math. Known as the STEM fields, these subjects account for a large majority of courses, studies, and research at major universities around the world. The roles women play in these fields has been a debated topic for many years, but how do women's issues in STEM fields relate to the lives of everyday college students? This video analyzes the issues women face in STEM fields on college campuses and the role of feminism in finding solutions. Coined in 1837 by French philosopher Charles Fourier, the women's rights movements of the 19th and 20th century have always been associated with feminism. But what does feminism actually mean today? Our group decided to take to the college campus and ask college students for their thoughts and definitions of feminism.
What comes to mind when you hear the word feminism?
I think equality.
Okay. Do you have a definition of feminism that you're willing to share?
Equality.
Equality?
Yeah,
Okay.
like gender equality, like all treated the same.
Women trying for equal, like their never-ending fight for equal rights alongside men.
I think feminism, usually I think of a radical group of women fighting for gender equality.
Supporting equal rights for women. But I think, a lot of people just take it to another extreme of trying to put men down and stuff like that.
I would define it as supporting women's rights in any way, shape, or form.
I guess feminism is all about equal opportunities to every woman and men equally.
I guess it depends on what the context is, because I think that a lot of times it can be kind of a derogatory term, because a lot of times whenever people say they're feminists, they're really biased against men, but I think that it should be taken more as we should be equal to men instead of like trying to lift feminism above guys and stuff. So I think that it's important to have values both for girls and for men because we're both important for the world.
Hear the word feminism, I think of like women trying to be recognized equally in a social and economic light, trying to gain the same social standing as men.
Women who are treated as equals, and by feminism I think that's what they want. They don't want to be treated differently, they want to have the same rights.
Removing the stigma around feminism is extremely important. For college students, especially here at NC State and other research-based universities, ensuring the equal treatment of women is necessary for the advancement of science. Women's roles in STEM fields have traditionally been downplayed. This can be seen here in this 1960 clip from a Corning video about including women in research.
These women are doing research. And these women are doing research too. It starts with men, designers, engineers, production men. And good as these designers are, they know that women have minds of their own. It's also an established fact that 3 out of 4 new household products just don't sell. Or to put it another way, the women of America won't buy 3 out of every 4 new products offered to them for their homes because they aren't what women want. That's the basic problem, and that's the reason for this new partnership in research with women.
The role of women in science is also seen in films. This clip from the 1953 movie The Mesa of Lost Women shows women as lab assistants and even test subjects, while the men are portrayed as the true scientists. Now these clips are from the 1950s and 60s, but here in 2014, just how far have we come in terms of equality? And what issues do women still face in STEM fields today?
What are your thoughts on the current status of gender equality?
I think we've come pretty far, but we still have a ways to go.
I know it's not actually like 50-50 right now. I know that some females get paid less than males, but I feel like we should all be treated fairly and be paid the same amount, I guess.
I think it's getting better, definitely, especially in a college. college environment where there's a younger generation and a lot more, I guess, people are a lot more open about it and accepting, I guess, so I think it's getting better.
I think it's pretty equal. I don't really view it as different, so
I think things have obviously gotten better in the last, let's say, 50 or 60 years, but they're not there yet. Women are not paid as much. There's still a lot of stigma between like what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. So it's like I said, we're not done yet. In other words, but it's better than it was.
Have you ever felt that you've been discriminated against or faced challenges because of your gender?
I wouldn't say any challenges, but I have gotten that reaction like, oh, you're a female, I wouldn't expect you to know that sort of thing, I would have to say.
I mean, I think I've always been able to do everything I wanted to do without anybody, you know, maybe some people will be like, oh, you know, you're a girl in engineering or you're a girl who plays hockey or whatever, but nobody's told me I can't. They just forced me not to.
Yeah, sometimes, because I feel like in computer science a lot of the times the guys don't really pay attention to what you have to say. So they kind of think since you're a girl in computer science that you're not as experienced with what they're dealing with. But I feel like I try to express what I think and what I think needs to be done on the projects to get it better, and try to voice my opinion up front so that they know that I have valuable opinions and that it would be beneficial for our projects.
To help shed further light on this issue, we caught up with Dr. Lisa Bullard. An NC State alum and PhD graduate of Carnegie Mellon University, Dr. Bullard worked as a process engineer at Eastman Chemical Company before being hired at NC State, where she is now a teaching professor and the current director of undergraduate studies for the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. Dr. Bullard had this to say about the challenges she's faced as a woman in a STEM field.
Well, when I was a student at NC State in chemical engineering, one of my early professors in a class that I took made a statement in front of the class that he thought women should not be engineers. And as you can imagine, this was sort of upsetting to a sophomore in chemical engineering, and some of my other female classmates decided that they would change their major or just drop the course, or because they just didn't want to be in an environment where people were just that openly biased. I guess my response was a little bit different. I sort of took it as a challenge. Said, well, you know, I'll show you. And so that sort of fired me up to want to be more successful, sort of to show him that I could. And I did. And in fact, the job that I currently hold, which is the undergraduate advisor, is the job that he held. And so it's sort of satisfying for me to look back on that comment that, you know, really sort of inspired me, you know, even though this came from a negative source, to be successful, to finish the degree, and now to be in the position where I can encourage people instead of discouraging them.
Since it is evident that women do still experience challenges in STEM fields, our group set up interviews with the NC State Women's Center and the Office of Student Conduct to find out more about what can be done. What challenges do women face in science and technology fields because of their gender?
I think that we're really working in kindergarten through 12th grade to ensure that teachers receive the training that they need to promote lots of diverse voices within the classroom. Most students who enter in NC State in STEM fields actually do not graduate in STEM fields, and that's across the gender spectrum. I really like that the Women's Center is aligned with programs such as WISE and other programs which promote discussions about gender equality in the classroom and promote women's success. I still think that there's plenty of barriers in explicit bias and implicit bias, both with teachers, with experiences that women and girls have, and in the workplace. And so we at the NC State Women's Center and through Women's and Gender Studies are really working to have those conversations and to promote success for all people.
One, women in those fields do face some discrimination. They might feel like they sort of got to be one of the guys to get ahead, so they can't necessarily be themselves. when they're just as capable, that's probably where we see issues about, like equal pay for equal work. They're doing the same work as their male colleagues, but aren't necessarily compensated the same. They might be viewed differently, especially if they, take on the role of, carrying children and having to take time off. They don't advance as far when, again, they're just as capable. So I think, obviously, those are issues that are going to come up anyway. And they're still seen as an oddity, I think, probably a rarity. And that's a lot to deal with. That's, I think, a lot of pressure as well to deal with that. Maybe some of their male colleagues don't have to manage or don't have to respond to. So I can imagine if you're in the STEM field as a female, that probably takes up a lot more of your time than you would ever imagine. So I think that would be challenging.
Here in 2014, getting involved in the movement for equality has never been easier. On September 20th, actress and United Nations Goodwill Ambassador Emma Watson gave a speech which launched a campaign entitled He for She, which aims to bring everyone, including men, into the fight for gender equality. We asked our interviewees if they were familiar with the movement, and the majority of them were. However, we were more interested in how they believed men could play a role and get involved in the movement for equality.
Can men play a role in the feminist movement, and how can they do that?
Absolutely. If men get equal rights just as much as women, everybody can talk about it. And once we get talking about it, we can find, the right path to go about getting equal rights for everybody. And once everybody has equal rights, we don't have to worry about it anymore.
I think it's good. I feel like not only women should be in favor of equality, and that does, wants it to reach men as well. It should be a fight that both genders are fighting for.
I mean, men have to play a role, because I feel like women don't discriminate against women because they're women. That's mainly men doing that. So we're the ones who have to get on board and actually change our thinking.
I feel like it would really help for the feminist movement if guys got more involved, because, I feel like it's one thing coming from a lady saying that women need to be more equal to men, but I think it's another thing for guys to support the same cause.
Yeah, I definitely feel so. I guess if we're going for gender equality, usually I think it's because women feel like men are putting down the women, so if the men make the change as much as the women try to advocate for it, you both have to work together.
Yeah, I think so, because we definitely need men to stand up and say, like, hey, this isn't right. We should be fighting for their equality as well.
Inequality is an issue regardless of where you identify in the gender spectrum. I think it's going to take everyone to join together to end inequality. So men's participation in and identification with the feminist movement is really crucial.
Do men play a role in helping to address those issues? Yes, absolutely. In fact, they probably have a stronger voice than women, because anytime a minority has gained rights, or I always say I hate to say gained because it's earned. It's something that should be there anyway. But anytime a minority makes advances and has achievement, it's because I think the majority has played a role in it. So absolutely, men have a very strong role to play.
There's an evolution, not a going back. That we can't go back. What has happened as a result of the women's movement is too life-opening, life-affirming, and the very equality that we fought for, and to some degree won, is in danger now, and there are those who would push us back. But I feel it is urgent to realize that we are in a different place now, and there are new questions, new problems that we couldn't even have foreseen until all that has happened, in the last 50 years as a result of the women's movement did happen, and that we are now in a place, well, younger women especially, who are living in terms of the movement that I helped start. There are new questions about the living of equality, and there are new questions about the saving of it. And these questions, I feel, cannot be seen in terms of women alone, nor women against man, even though some of the focus had to be that way in the first stage. Now, both women and men have a new stake in coming to new terms, not old ones, new terms about families and restructuring work.
The feminist champion Betty Friedan spoke those words in 1982. 32 years later, her words still ring true as we continue to face many of the same issues she spoke of. It will take all of us, men, women, students, and professors, to achieve equality and move forward. In our interview with Dr. Bullard, she spoke these final words as a challenge to the students and faculty at NC State.
Make sure that everyone has an opportunity to do different roles within a team. Certainly blatant comments that are not professional, have no place in the classroom or here at NC State. So I think holding people accountable when you hear that sort of comment, calling people out when they're really being disrespectful or blatantly sexist is important, whether that be a teacher or a fellow student. And unfortunately, I've had students come to me with concerns about an instructor that may have said comments in class similar to what I experienced, which is truly unfortunate that still exists. But letting people know that that's not okay. And as I said before, just having someone standing in front of the class who can, just through their own personal experience, encourage and inspire both men and women that women can be successful in STEM fields.
So what can you do now? Well, first share this video with your friends and family to raise awareness of the issues. And also challenge those around you to think about how their actions may have broader implications on everyone. Science will continue to move forward, and with it, we hope that women and men will be able to work alongside each other, striving for excellence and innovation, especially on college campuses.